The Sacramento sun was a relentless bastard that July afternoon in 2025, baking the cracked asphalt of East El Paso Heights until it shimmered like a mirage. Ethan Caldwell stood in the middle of it all, his $3,000 Armani suit sticking to his skin, a Tesla idling behind him like some sleek, silent beast. He wasn't supposed to be here. Not in this working-class corner of the city, not surrounded by a crowd of sweaty, shouting folks clutching handmade signs. "Save Green Roots," one read, scrawled in red marker. "No condos, no greed," screamed another. The air smelled of dry dirt and desperation, a far cry from the polished leather and espresso of his downtown office. Across the patchy strip of land called Green Roots Community Garden, bulldozers growled, their engines spitting diesel fumes as they edged closer to the raised beds of tomatoes and peppers. Ethan squinted against the glare, his dark hair plastered to his forehead with sweat. At 36, he was used to boardrooms, not battlegrounds. As CEO of Caldwell Industries, he'd built a tech empire that made him one of the youngest billionaires in California. But right now, he didn't feel like a king. He felt like a guy who'd wandered into the wrong damn movie. "Get those machines out of here!" A voice cut through the chaos, sharp and fierce. Ethan's eyes snapped to the source. Sofia Rivera, all 5'4" of her, standing on an overturned crate with a megaphone pressed to her lips. Her curly black hair was tied up in a messy bun, strands escaping like they had a mind of their own. She wore a faded Sacramento Kings t-shirt and jeans with holes at the knees, nothing like the polished types who usually circled Ethan's orbit. "This is our home, not some rich dude's piggy bank," she shouted, her brown eyes blazing. The crowd roared back, a mix of moms with kids on their hips, old guys in trucker hats, and teens snapping pics for Instagram. Ethan's throat tightened. He knew her, had met her 2 months ago at Golden Oaks Care Home, where his grandpa, Walter, lived. She'd been pushing Walter's wheelchair, laughing at some story he was spinning about fishing at Lake Tahoe. Back then, Ethan had barely given her a second glance, just another staffer in scrubs. Now, here she was, leading a damn uprising against his company. "Yo, Caldwell!" A burly guy with a gray beard yelled, jabbing a finger at him. "You think you can just roll in and pave over our lives? Screw that!" The crowd surged, closing in. Ethan raised his hands, palms out, like he could hold back the tide. "Listen, I'm not here to—" he started, but Sofia cut him off, swinging the megaphone his way. "Oh, don't play dumb, Ethan!" she snapped, her voice crackling through the speaker. "Your fancy suits and big checks don't fool us. You signed off on this, tearing down Green Roots for some overpriced condos nobody here can afford." Ethan's jaw clenched. She wasn't wrong, not entirely. Caldwell Industries had greenlit the deal to buy this land, part of a broader push into real estate. But he hadn't known it was this place. Not until his assistant flagged an article about the protest this morning. He'd driven over on impulse, telling himself he just wanted to see what the fuss was about. Now, standing in the heat with 100 pairs of eyes boring into him, he wasn't so sure. "I didn't know it was your garden," he said, loud enough to carry over the murmurs. "I swear, Sofia, I didn't—" "Bullshit!" a woman shouted, holding a toddler who waved a tiny fist. "You rich assholes always don't know until the check's clear." The crowd laughed, bitter and sharp, and Ethan felt his face burn, not from the sun, but from something he hadn't felt in years. Shame. He glanced at the garden behind Sophia, rows of green sprouting from old tires and wooden crates, a handmade sign reading, "Green Roots, feedin' the hood since 22. Kids darted between the beds, oblivious to the tension, chasing each other with sticks. It wasn't much, but it was alive in a way his sterile penthouse never was. Sophia lowered the megaphone, stepping off the crate to face him. Up close, he could see the dirt smudged on her cheek, the fire in her stare. "You think money can buy everything, don't you?" she said, quieter now but no less fierce. "This isn't just dirt, Ethan. It's where we grow food for folks who'd go hungry otherwise. It's where kids learn something besides scrolling TikTok all day. You don't get to take that away and act like it's nothing." He opened his mouth to argue. Hell, he was good at arguing, had talked his way into billion-dollar deals, but nothing came out. Her words hit like a punch, and for a split second, he was back at Golden Oaks, watching her kneel to tie Walter's shoe, her voice soft as she teased him. "You're too stubborn to stay down, old man." That day he'd written her off as some do-gooder with no clue who he was. Now she was staring him down like he was the one who didn't belong. The bulldozers revved louder, inching forward. A guy in a hard hat waved from the cab, shouting, "We got orders, lady! Clear out or we roll through!" Panic rippled through the crowd. "No way!" a teen yelled, grabbing a shovel like he'd fight the machines himself. Sophia spun back to the megaphone, rallying them. "Stand your ground. They don't own us yet." Ethan's pulse kicked up. This was spiraling, fast. He could walk away, let the lawyers handle it, keep his hands clean like always. But something rooted him there, something in Sophia's voice, in the way these people clung to this scrap of earth. He thought of Walter, who'd built Caldwell Industries from nothing, who'd once told him, "Money's just paper, kid. It's what you do with it that counts." Before he could second-guess himself, Ethan stepped forward, snatching the megaphone from Sophia's hand. She yelped, "Hey, what the—" But he was already talking. "Hold up!" he shouted, his voice booming over the noise. The crowd froze, the bulldozers idling as the drivers leaned out to listen. "I'm Ethan Caldwell. Yeah, that Caldwell, and I'm not here to bulldoze your garden." Sophia's eyes narrowed, arms crossed tight. "Then why the hell are you here?" He swallowed, the weight of every stare pinning him down. "I'm here to figure this out," he said, louder now, turning to the crowd. "I didn't know what this place meant. Not until right now. Give me a chance to make it right." Silence stretched, thick and heavy. The guy with the beard snorted. "Pretty words, suit. You gonna back 'em up?" Ethan met Sophia's gaze, her skepticism cutting deeper than the heat. "Yeah," he said, handing her back the megaphone. "I am." She took it, staring at him like she was trying to crack a code. "Prove it," she said finally, her voice low but steady. "'Cause we're not going anywhere." The crowd erupted, cheers, jeers, a mix of hope and doubt. Ethan stood there, sweat dripping down his neck, his pristine world cracking open. 2 months ago, he'd been a king in a glass tower. Now, he was just a guy in a suit, caught in a fight he hadn't seen coming. Flashback. 2 months earlier, Golden Oaks care home. The memory hit him like a freight train as he stood there, dust swirling around his polished loafers. It had been a quiet May morning when he'd first rolled up to Golden Oaks in that same Tesla, the engine humming soft against the gravel lot. He'd come because of a call. Walter had taken a spill in the bathroom, nothing broken, just a bruise. "He's been asking for you," the receptionist had said, her voice chipper over the phone. Ethan had found Walter in the garden out back, a scruffy patch of roses and benches under sprawling oaks. The old man was in his wheelchair, laughing so hard he nearly tipped over. Beside him was Sophia, her hands dirty from weeding, her grin wide as she said, "You're full of it, Walter. No way you caught a fish that big." "Ask my grandson," Walter had shot back, spotting Ethan lurking by the path. "Ethan, tell her about that monster bass at Tahoe." Ethan had blinked, caught off guard. Sure, Grandpa," he'd mumbled, not remembering a damn thing about it. Fishing trips were a blur, something from before his parents died, before the company swallowed his life. He'd nodded at Sophia, barely registering her. "Hey," he'd said, all business. "Hey yourself," she'd replied, wiping her hands on her jeans. "You're the big-shot grandson he keeps bragging about, huh?" "Guess so," he'd said, already itching to leave. She'd looked at him then, really looked, and he'd felt seen. Not as Ethan Caldwell, billionaire, but as some guy who hadn't shown up enough. It had stuck with him, even if he didn't admit it then. Now, back in the blazing July heat, that moment felt like a lifetime ago. The bulldozers were still, the crowd buzzing, and Sophia was watching him, waiting. Ethan didn't know what came next, not yet. But one thing was clear. He couldn't walk away from this. Not from her, not from them. Hey, if you're hooked on how Ethan went from tearing down dreams to standing up for 'em, hit that subscribe button, all right? Drop a comment. Do you think Sophia's gonna give him a shot? Or is he just another suit talking big? Let's keep this story rolling. 2 months before the chaos at Green Roots, Sacramento was still waking up from spring. It was a crisp May morning, the kind where the air smelled faintly of damp grass, and the city's skyline shimmered under a pale blue sky. Ethan Caldwell sat in his corner office on the 38th floor of the Caldwell Industries Tower downtown, a glass and steel monument to his family's legacy. At 36, he was the guy everyone wanted to be, or feared being around. His custom Italian suit hugged his broad shoulders just right, his dark hair slicked back with not a strand out of place. The desk in front of him was a battlefield of reports and coffee cups, the glow of 3 monitors casting sharp shadows across his face. "Mr. Caldwell," the board's thrilled with the Syntech acquisition, his assistant Mia said, poking her head through the door. She was all efficiency, blonde bob, clipboard, zero bullshit. $200 million in the bag. They're waiting for your victory lap. Ethan barely looked up, signing off on a contract with a flick of his Mont Blanc pen. "Tell 'em I'll be there in 10, he muttered. His voice was low, clipped, the kind that made people scramble. And they did. Mia was gone in a heartbeat, heels clicking down the hall. The meeting went like clockwork. Another startup swallowed, another $100 million added to the Caldwell empire. The boardroom smelled of leather and ambition. 12 suits around a mahogany table nodding like bobbleheads. "Great work, Ethan," one of them said, a gray-haired guy with a Rolex that screamed old money. Ethan forced a tight smile, the kind he'd perfected over years of dodging fake handshakes and gold-digging dates. He preferred the fear to the flattery. Fear kept people honest. Back in his office, he sank into his chair, the city sprawling out below like a toy set he owned. Sacramento wasn't Silicon Valley, but it was his turf. Tech startups, real estate, a growing chunk of the Central Valley pie. He was scrolling through emails when his personal cell buzzed, a rare sound that made him pause. Not many had that number. "Mr. Caldwell, this is Golden Oaks Care Home," a chipper voice said. "It's about your grandfather, Walter. He took a little tumble in the bathroom this morning. Nothing serious, just a bruise. But the doc's keeping an eye on him, and well, he's been asking for you." Ethan's fingers tightened around the phone. A flicker of something. Guilt, maybe, twisting in his gut. Walter was the only family he had left. The guy who'd raised him after his parents died in a car wreck when he was 12. Back then, Walter had been a giant. Tall, broad. The kind of man who could build a company from scratch and still fry you an egg sunny side up. Now at 82, he was stuck in a care home Ethan paid a fortune for, and Ethan hadn't seen him in over a month. "I'll swing by tomorrow," he said, his tone flatter than he meant it. "Oh, he'll love that," the woman chirped. "See you then, Mr. Caldwell." He hung up, staring at the phone. The calendar on his desk mocked him, meetings stacked like Jenga blocks for weeks. He yanked open a drawer, pulling out a faded Polaroid. Him at 10, skinny legs dangling off a dock. Walter beside him with a fishing rod, both grinning like idiots. Lake Tahoe, summer of '99. Before the crash. Before the suits and the billions. Before Ethan learned the world was a cold-ass place that didn't give a damn about you unless you had something to offer. "Clear my afternoon tomorrow," he called out to Mia, who was passing by with a stack of files. She raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. "You got it, boss." The next day, Ethan pulled into Golden Oaks' gravel lot, his black Tesla looking like a spaceship next to the beat-up Hondas and Fords. The place was pricey. He'd made sure Walter had the best, but it still felt like a betrayal, leaving the old man here while he chased zeros downtown. The lobby smelled of antiseptic and lavender, a weird mix that made his nose itch. At the front desk, a middle-aged woman with a perm and a name tag reading Linda looked up. "Mr. Caldwell, didn't expect you so early," she said, smiling like he was some VIP. "That a problem?" he shot back, sharper than he intended. "Not at all," Linda said, unfazed. "Walter's out in the garden with Sophia. She's been a godsend with him, keeps him laughing." Ethan nodded, heading down the hall. The sound hit him before he saw them. Walter's deep, raspy laugh, a noise he hadn't heard in years. He slowed at the garden door, peering out. The space was small, but alive. Rose bushes spilling red and pink, benches tucked under gnarled oak trees, a gravel path winding through it all. Walter sat in a wheelchair, his once towering frame stooped, but his grin as big as ever. Next to him was Sophia Rivera, her hands dirty from pulling weeds, her blue scrubs smudged with soil. "And then I told the bank guy, 'Buddy, I might be old, but I ain't dumb enough to take that lousy rate,'" Walter finished, slapping his knee. Sophia threw her head back, laughing, a real belly-deep sound that caught Ethan off guard. "You're too much, Walter," she said, wiping her eyes. "Did he back off after that?" "Damn right he did." Walter chuckled, then spotted Ethan lurking by the door. His face lit up. "Ethan, my boy, get over here." Sophia glanced up, her smile fading just a touch as she met Ethan's eyes. No recognition, no fawning, Just a quick once-over, like he was any random visitor. It threw him. People usually clocked him fast. Ethan Caldwell, the billionaire bachelor, not her. "Grandpa," Ethan said, crossing the gravel to give Walter a careful hug. The old man smelled like aftershave and earth, his grip weaker than Ethan remembered, but still firm. "You came," Walter said, patting his back. "Was just telling Sophia about that monster bass we hooked at Tahoe. You remember, don't you?" Ethan hesitated. Yeah, sure," he lied, forcing a grin. Truth was, those days were a haze, drowned out by board meetings and late-night deals. He turned to Sophia. Hey, she said back, brushing dirt off her hands. "So you're the hotshot grandson he won't shut up about?" "Guess so," Ethan said, shoving his hands in his pockets. Her tone wasn't flirty or impressed, just straight, like she didn't care who he was. It bugged him more than it should have. Walter waved a hand. "Sophia's been keeping me out of trouble. Best damn storyteller in this joint. After me, of course." "Big shoes to fill," Sophia said with a smirk, then nodded at Ethan. "He says you were quite the fisherman back in the day." "Back in the day," Ethan echoed, glancing at Walter. "Been a while." "Shame," she said, no hint of bullshit in her voice. "Walter talks about those trips like they were gold. Best days of his life, huh?" Ethan shifted, guilt gnawing at him. "Yeah, they were good." "Well," Sophia said, standing and brushing off her jeans, "I'll let you two catch up. Walter, don't forget your cane if you're walking around." She flashed Ethan a polite smile. Professional, nothing more. "Nice meeting you, Mr. Caldwell." "Ethan," he corrected, automatic. She nodded, already heading off. "Ethan." He watched her go, her stride quick and sure, stopping to chat with an old lady in a wheelchair. She knelt down, eye level, her face lighting up as they talked. Something about it stuck with him. "She's something else, ain't she?" Walter said, following his gaze. "She's fine," Ethan said, shrugging. "Seems good at her job." Walter chuckled, a knowing glint in his eye. "Good at her job? Sophia's the only one here who treats me like a person, not a paycheck. Brings me books, knows I take my coffee black, listens to my old yarns like they matter." Ethan guided Walter to a bench under an oak, the shade cool against the morning sun. "I should visit more," he said, half to himself. "Yeah, you should," Walter agreed, no judgment in his tone. "But I get it. You're busy running the show. The company I built, huh?" "You built it," Ethan said. "I just made it bigger." Walter waved that off. "Bigger ain't always better, kid." He reached into a bag slung over his wheelchair, pulling out an old fishing rod. Battered wood, chipped paint, the reel creaking. "Found this in storage. Used to be yours. Take it." Ethan stared at it, memories flickering. Sun on the lake, Walter's laugh, the tug of a fish on the line. "Grandpa, I don't—" "Take it," Walter insisted, shoving it into his hands. "Go fish in the pond out back. You're too young to forget how to live." Ethan gripped the rod, awkward in his suit. Sophia's voice drifted over from across the garden, teasing someone about their roses. "I bet you don't even know how to hold that anymore," she called, smirking his way. He raised an eyebrow, a spark of something waking up inside him. "Wanna bet?" She laughed, short and sharp. "What's the stakes, hotshot?" "Dinner," he said before he could stop himself. "I win. You owe me a burger." "And if I win?" She shot back, hands on her hips. "Name it." She grinned. "You'll see." Then she turned back to her work, leaving him holding the rod like a fool. Walter cackled. "She's got your number, boy." Ethan smirked, shaking his head. "We'll see about that." That afternoon at Golden Oaks was the first crack in Ethan's armor, though he didn't know it yet. He'd walked in a king, untouchable. He left with a fishing rod and a challenge, Sophia's laugh echoing in his ears. June rolled into Sacramento like a slow burn, the kind of heat that made you crave a cold beer by noon. Ethan Caldwell had been showing up at Golden Oaks more often since that day with the fishing rod. 3-4 times a week now, always with some excuse about checking on Walter. Truth was, he liked the quiet of the place, the way the garden smelled like dirt and roses instead of printer ink and ambition. And yeah, maybe he liked catching Sophia Rivera mid-story, her laugh cutting through the hum of the care home like a damn lifeline. This Wednesday, he found her out back, kneeling in the dirt with Walter's wheelchair parked nearby. The old man was dozing, a straw hat tipped over his face, while Sophia wrestled with a tangle of weeds. Her king's t-shirt was damp with sweat, her curls escaping that high bun she always wore. Ethan leaned against the oak tree, watching her work. "You gonna stand there gawking or help out?" she called without looking up, yanking a root free with a grunt. "Didn't want to mess up my shoes," he said, smirking as he glanced at his polished loafers. "But since you're asking so nice," she snorted, tossing him a pair of gloves from her bag. "Put these on, hotshot. We're saving the roses today." He caught them midair, slipping them on as he crouched beside her. The gloves were too small, pinching his fingers, but he didn't complain. Up close, she smelled like soil and something sweet. Maybe sunscreen. "So what's the deal with this place?" he asked, tugging at a weed. "You're here all the time." "Not all the time," she said, brushing dirt off her hands. "I pull shifts here, but my real gig's the garden, Green Roots, over in East El Paso. You should come check it out sometime." "Green Roots?" He raised an eyebrow, snapping a root free. "That the one with the funky tire planters?" She grinned, surprised. "You've seen it?" "Drove by once. Looked chaotic." "It's alive," she corrected, her voice softening. "We grow veggies for folks who can't afford 'em. Families, seniors, whoever. Kids pitch in too. Keeps 'em out of trouble." Ethan nodded, picturing it. Those mismatched beds, the hand-painted signs. It sounded like a mess, but the way her eyes lit up made it feel like something else. "Sounds like a lot of work." "It is," she said, sitting back on her heels. "But it's worth it. You'd get it if you saw it." "Maybe I will," he said, half joking. "Gotta see if you're as bossy there as you are here." She laughed, sharp and quick. "Oh, I'm worse. You're invited, though. Saturday morning. Bring coffee if you wanna." Here's the continuation and completion of Ethan smirked, wiping sweat off his brow with the back of his gloved hand. "Coffee, huh? What kind of bribe is that?" "The kind that keeps me from kicking your ass out of my garden," Sophia shot back, her grin wicked. 8 a.m. sharp, Caldwell, don't flake." Walter stirred then, tipping his hat back with a groan. "You two flirting over my roses now?" he rasped. eyes twinkling. Sophia rolled her eyes, standing to brush dirt off her jeans. Dream on, old man. I'm just trying to get your grandson off his high horse. Good luck with that, Walter chuckled, winking at Ethan. He's stubborn as a mule. Takes after me. Ethan shook his head, peeling off the gloves. I'll think about it, he said to Sophia, tossing them back into her bag. No promises. Uh-huh, she said, crossing her arms. We'll see. He left Golden Oaks that day with dirt under his nails and Sophia's challenge rattling around in his head. Saturday at Green Roots? He wasn't sure why it stuck with him. Maybe it was her laugh or the way Walter lit up around her. Either way, it was the first time in years he'd felt pulled toward something that wasn't a deal or a deadline. Back at Caldwell Industries that Friday, the tower buzzed with its usual rhythm, phones ringing, keyboards clacking, the faint hum of the AC keeping the heat at bay. Ethan was mid-meeting, pitching a new app rollout to a room full of suits, when Claire Donovan swept in. At 40, Claire was all sharp edges, blonde hair pulled tight in a bun, navy blazer tailored to kill, hazel eyes that could cut glass. She'd been on the board for years, a shark who'd once made a play for Ethan after too many whiskeys at a Christmas party. He'd shut it down fast, but she'd never quite let it go. "Ethan, a word?" she said, her tone clipped as the room cleared out. She didn't wait for an answer, dropping a thick folder onto the table with a thud. He leaned back in his chair, loosening his tie. "What's this?" "Progress," she said, tapping the folder with a manicured nail. "The East Del Paso project. We closed the deal yesterday. Land's ours. Construction starts next month." "East Del Paso?" Ethan frowned, flipping the folder open. Maps, permits, a glossy rendering of sleek condos stared back at him. "Since when are we in real estate out there?" "Since it's a gold mine," Claire said, smirking. "Low buy-in, high return. Working class area, ripe for gentrification. You signed off on the expansion strategy last quarter, delegated the details to me." He scanned the papers, a vague memory of nodding through a late-night briefing surfacing. "Yeah, but I didn't mean bulldozing some neighborhood. What's on that land now?" Claire shrugged, leaning against the table. "Nothing worth keeping. Some community lot, trash piles, a few sad plants. The seller was desperate. We got it cheap." Ethan's gut twisted, Sophia's voice echoing in his head. "Green Roots. Veggies for folks who can't afford 'em." "What's it called?" he asked, sharper now. She glanced at her phone, scrolling. "Green Roots Community Garden. Why?" His stomach dropped like he'd missed a step. "Shit," he muttered, shoving the folder back at her. "That's not just some lot, Claire. People use it." Claire's smirk faded, replaced by a cool stare. "People use parking lots too, Ethan. It's business. You going soft on me?" "I'm not soft," he snapped, standing. "I just don't like screwing over folks without knowing it. Pull the brakes on this. Let me check it out." She crossed her arms, unimpressed. "Too late. Contracts are signed. Crews are booked. You want to back out now, it's a $10 million hit. Your call, boss." Ethan glared at her, the room suddenly too small. "Fine. I'll handle it." "Better handle it fast," she said, turning on her heel. "Board's expecting numbers, not feelings." He slumped back into his chair as she left, the folder mocking him from the table. Green Roots. Sophia's garden. How the hell had he missed this? Saturday morning broke hot and hazy, the Sacramento sky a washed-out blue. Ethan pulled up to Green Roots at 7:55 a.m., 2 coffees in hand, one black, one with cream, guessing on Sophia's. The lot was tucked between a laundromat and a row of faded bungalows, a patchwork of raised beds and tire planters spilling over with green. Kids darted around, lugging watering cans, while a couple of old-timers in baseball caps chatted by a rickety picnic table. It smelled like earth and herbs, a gritty kind of alive that hit Ethan square in the chest. Sophia was in the thick of it, kneeling by a tomato bed with a gaggle of kids. "Careful, Manny, don't drown 'em," she called, laughing as a boy splashed water everywhere. She looked up, spotting Ethan, and her grin faltered for a second before she waved him over. "You showed," she said, standing and wiping her hands on her jeans. "Didn't think you'd ditch the suit for this." He handed her the coffee with cream, shrugging. "Figured I owed you a burger. Where's the action?" She took the cup, sipping it and nodding approval. "Not bad, Caldwell. Action's over here. Grab a shovel. We're mulching." He followed her to a pile of wood chips, the kids eyeballing him like he was an alien. "Who's the fancy guy?" a girl with braids whispered, loud enough to hear. "Fancy guy's Ethan," Sophia said, smirking. "He's here to get dirty, so go easy on him." Ethan grabbed a shovel, digging in beside her. The work was clumsy at first. Chips flew everywhere and he nearly toppled into the pile, but Sophia's teasing kept him going. "You're a disaster," she said, nudging him, "but you're trying. I'll give you that." For an hour it felt good, simple even. The sun climbed higher, sweat soaked his t-shirt, and the kids started calling him Mr. E like it was a game. He was starting to think maybe he could fit here when a low rumble cut through the chatter. A pickup truck rolled up, towing a trailer stacked with survey equipment. 2 guys in hard hats hopped out, unrolling maps. Sophia froze, shovel mid-air. "What the hell?" Ethan followed her gaze, dread pooling in his gut. The lead guy, a stocky dude with a clipboard, waved at them. "Morning, folks. Caldwell Industries survey team. Just scoping the site." The air shifted, sharp and heavy. Sophia dropped her shovel, storming over. "Surveying for what?" she demanded, voice low but lethal. "New development," the guy said, unfazed. "Condos, I think. Got the green light yesterday." Ethan stepped up, heart pounding. "Hold on. This is a mistake. I didn't—" Sophia spun on him, eyes blazing. "You didn't what, Ethan? Sign off on this? 'Cause your name's all over it." She jabbed a finger at the truck, where Caldwell Industries was plastered in bold letters. "I didn't know it was this place," he said, hands up. "Sophia, I swear—" "Bullshit!" she snapped, loud enough to turn heads. The kids stopped playing, the old-timers muttering. "You waltz in here with your coffee and your smiles, acting like you give a damn, and now this? You're full of it." "Sophia, listen," he started, but she cut him off, stepping closer, her voice trembling with fury. "No, you listen. This garden feeds people, real people, not your boardroom buddies. And you're gonna pave it over for some rich assholes who don't even live here? I knew it. You're just like the rest of them." The words hit like a slap, and before Ethan could respond, a new voice broke in, older, rougher. "Sophia, get away from him." A woman marched up, gray-streaked hair pulled back, her face lined with years of hard knocks. She grabbed Sophia's arm, glaring at Ethan like he was trash. "Mom? I got this," Sophia said, pulling free. But the woman, Isabel Rivera, Ethan guessed, didn't budge. "No, you don't," Isabel said, her accent thick with East Sac roots. "I told you not to trust these suits. He's one of them. Same kind of bastard who screwed us out of our savings. Get in the car." Sophia hesitated. Her eyes locked on Ethan's, hurt and betrayal swirling there. "You're a liar," she said finally, quiet but cutting. Then she turned, following Isabel to a beat-up sedan parked across the street. Ethan stood there, shovel dangling in his hand, the survey crew milling around like nothing had happened. The kids whispered, the old-timers shook their heads, and that damn truck rumbled like a taunt. He'd come here to prove something, to her, to himself. And now it was crumbling faster than he could grab it. He thought of Walter, the fishing rod still in his Tesla's trunk, the old man's voice ringing in his ears. "Money's just paper, kid." Ethan kicked the dirt, hard, dust clouding around his sneakers. Sophia was gone. The garden was screwed, and for the first time in years, he didn't know what the hell to do next. The sun climbed higher, baking the lot, but Ethan felt cold, numb even. He'd built a life where he called the shots, where nothing touched him. Now, standing in the wreckage of Sophia's trust, he wasn't so sure who was calling anything anymore. The Sacramento heat didn't let up as June bled into July, turning the city into a skillet. Ethan Caldwell couldn't shake the image of Sophia Rivera walking away from Green Roots that Saturday, her shoulders stiff, Isabel's glare burning holes through him, the kids' whispers fading into the dust. He'd gone back to his penthouse that night, the sleek lines and marble floors, feeling more like a cage than a castle. The fishing rod sat on his kitchen counter, a silent jab from Walter. "Live a little, kid." Ethan poured a scotch, stared out at the twinkling skyline, and wondered how the hell he'd let it get this bad. Monday hit like a freight train. He stormed into Caldwell Industries, tie loose, eyes sharp. Claire Donovan was in the boardroom, pitching some new acquisition to a handful of suits, when Ethan barged in. "We need to talk," he said, voice low but cutting through her spiel like a blade. The room went quiet, head swiveling. Claire didn't flinch, just raised an eyebrow. "Can it wait? We're in the middle of—" "Now," he said, jerking his head toward the hall. She sighed, tossing her pen onto the table, and followed him out. In his office, he didn't sit, just paced, the glass wall reflecting his restless shadow. "Green Roots," he started, turning to her. "What's the play?" Claire leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. "I told you, condos, quick flip, 10 million in profit. Why are we still on this?" "Because it's not just a lot," he snapped, stopping to face her. "It's a community garden. Feeds people, keeps kids off the streets. We're not bulldozing it." She laughed, short and dry. "Ethan, you're kidding, right? It's a dirt patch in East Sac. We've got contracts, crews, investors lined up. You want to tank that for some tomatoes?" "I want to know why I wasn't looped in," he said, stepping closer. "You pushed this through while I was in New York, didn't even flag it." Claire's smirk faded, her hazel eyes narrowing. "You delegated real estate to me last quarter. I don't need to hold your hand for every call. What's this really about? That girl from the care home?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "It's about doing the right damn thing, Claire. Pull the deal." "No can do," she said, straightening. "We back out now. We eat a penalty. Millions down the drain. Board'll have your head. Hell, I'll have your head. Then find a workaround. he said, voice steel. "I'm not letting this happen." She studied him like she was sizing up a new opponent. "You're serious," she said finally. "Fine. I'll stall the crew. Give you a week to play hero. But if you don't fix this, it's on you." "Deal," he said, turning back to the window as she left. Sacramento sprawled below, a mix of grit and gleam. He'd built his life here, brick by billion-dollar brick. Now, it felt like quicksand. Tuesday morning, Ethan pulled up to Green Roots. No suit this time, just jeans and a gray t-shirt. The Tesla looking out of place next to a rusted Chevy. The garden was quieter than last time. No kids running wild, just a handful of folks tending beds. Sophia was there, hauling a bag of mulch, her king's shirt swapped for a faded tank top. She didn't see him at first, and he hesitated, the memory of her "you're a liar" still stinging. "Hey," he said, stepping onto the gravel. She froze, dropping the bag with a thud. "What are you doing here?" she asked, wiping sweat off her forehead. Her voice was flat, guarded. "Came to help," he said, shoving his hands in his pockets. "If you'll let me." Sophia's eyes narrowed, searching his face. "Help? After your crew rolled up with their maps and bullshit? Why should I trust you?" "You shouldn't," he said, meeting her stare. "Not yet. But I'm here anyway. I told him to hold off, bought us some time." She crossed her arms, skeptical. "Us? There's no us, Ethan. You're Caldwell Industries. You don't get to play both sides." "I'm not," he said, stepping closer. "I didn't know about the deal. Swear it. Claire pushed it through behind my back. I'm trying to stop it." Sophia's jaw tightened, but she didn't walk away. "Trying's not enough," she said. "This place, it's not just plants. It's home for a lot of folks. You don't get that." "I'm starting to," he said, voice low. "Let me prove it." She studied him, the heat pressing down, cicadas buzzing in the distance. Finally, she jerked her head toward the mulch. "Fine, grab a shovel, but don't think this makes us square." He nodded, picking up a shovel from the pile. It wasn't forgiveness, not even close, but it was a crack in the wall. They worked in silence for a while, spreading mulch over the beds, the rhythm of it oddly calming. A kid wandered over eventually, Manny, the water spiller from last time, eyeing Ethan like a stray dog. "You're back," Manny said, kicking a rock. "Thought you were the bad guy." "Still might be," Ethan said, grinning a little. "You tell me," Manny shrugged. "You're okay. Just don't mess up the peppers." Sophia snorted, hiding a smile. High praise from Manny. Don't blow it. Over the next few days, Ethan kept showing up. Early mornings, sweaty afternoons, hauling dirt, planting seedlings, dodging Sophia's barbs. The garden started to feel less foreign, the people less like strangers. He learned names: Luce, the grandma who brought tamales; Jamal, the teen who rapped while he weeded. Sophia thawed, slow and grudging, her "you're useless" jabs turning into "not bad, Caldwell." Thursday night he stayed late, helping her fix a busted irrigation line. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky orange, the air cooling to something bearable. They sat on a bench after, sharing a warm Coke from the cooler. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, breaking the quiet. Really? Ethan leaned back, staring at the tomato vines swaying in the breeze. My grandpa, Walter, he built the company from nothing. Always said it was about more than money. I forgot that somewhere along the way. He gestured at the garden. This feels like what he meant. Sophia nodded, sipping her Coke. He's a good guy, Walter. Talks about you like you hung the moon. Yeah, well, I've been a shitty grandson, Ethan said, half laughing. Trying to fix that, too. She didn't push, just sat there, the silence easy for once. Then her phone buzzed. Luce, texting about a council meeting. They're voting on the land sale tomorrow, Sophia said, standing. If we don't stop it, your trying won't mean jack. Ethan stood too, resolve hardening. Then we stop it. Friday morning, Ethan was back at Caldwell Industries, digging through contracts, calling in favors. Claire caught him in the hall, arms crossed, her blazer crisp despite the heat. You're still on this garden kick, she said, voice dripping with disbelief. Survey's done. Crew's ready to roll Monday. Cancel it, he said, brushing past her. I'm pulling the deal. She grabbed his arm, spinning him around. Ethan, you're insane. 10 million down the drain, and for what? Some chick in a tank top? The board's gonna eat you alive. He yanked free, eyes flashing. It's not about her. It's about me not being the guy who screws over people like my grandpa used to help. You want to fight me on this, Claire? Go ahead. She stared, caught off guard, then smirked. Your funeral, Caldwell. Don't say I didn't warn you. He didn't answer, just headed for his car. The council meeting was at noon. City Hall, downtown, a beige box of bureaucracy. Sophia was already there when he pulled up, pacing the steps with a dozen Green Roots folks. Luce, Jamal, Manny's mom, signs in hand. She looked surprised to see him. You're here, she said, almost a question. Told you I'd stop it, he said, falling in step as they filed inside. The meeting was a slog, suits droning about zoning, budgets, some developer in a cheap tie pitching the condo plan. When public comments opened, Sophia took the mic, voice steady but fierce. Green Roots isn't just land, it's food, it's family, it's hope. You sell it, you're selling us out. Ethan went next, no notes, just raw. I'm Ethan Caldwell, Caldwell Industries. My company started this mess, and I'm here to end it. Pull the sale. I'll cover the penalty myself if I have to. This garden stays. The room buzzed. Council members whispering. Sophia staring at him like she'd never seen him before. The vote dragged. 3-4, 3 against. Until the last guy, a balding dude with glasses, sighed. Against, he said, and the place erupted. Outside, the Green Roots crew cheered, Luce hugging Sophia, Jamal slapping Ethan's back. You're all right, Mr. E, he said, grinning. Sophia caught Ethan's eye, stepping over. You meant that? She asked, voice soft but searching. Every word, he said, holding her gaze. She nodded, a small smile breaking through. Okay, Caldwell, you're in. That night, the garden threw an impromptu party. Hot dogs on the grill, Luce's tamales, someone blasting Bad Bunny from a Bluetooth speaker. Ethan stayed, laughing as Manny dumped water on him, feeling lighter than he had in years. But back at the tower, Claire was on the phone, voice cold. "Board's not happy, Ethan." "You just cost us a fortune. Watch your back." He hung up, staring at the fishing rod on his counter. The fight for green roots was won, for now, but the war with his own world was just starting. Ethan's gone all in for the garden. Think he can keep it up with the suits breathing down his neck? Smash that subscribe button to find out and drop a comment. Would you ditch millions for a place like Green Roots? Let's roll into the next fight. July in Sacramento was a furnace, the kind of heat that made the asphalt ripple and the air taste like dust. Ethan Caldwell had been riding high after the council win. Green Roots was safe. Sophia's guarded smiles were softening, and the garden felt like a second home. He'd traded boardroom power plays for mulching beds and dodging water fights with Manny. And damn if it didn't feel good. But that high crashed hard the Monday after, when Claire Donovan's voice crackled through his office speakerphone like a storm rolling in. "Ethan, you've screwed us," she said. No preamble, her tone ice cold. 10 million down the drain, and the board's pissed. We're calling an emergency meeting. Wednesday, 9 a.m. Be there, or we'll vote without you. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling, the sleek lines of his office suddenly suffocating. "Vote on what?" he asked, though he could guess. "Your ass," Claire snapped. "You think we'd just eat that loss and clap you on the back? You're on thin ice, Caldwell. Fix this, or you're out." The line went dead, and Ethan sat there, the hum of the AC filling the silence. He'd known the board wouldn't take the Green Roots pullout lying down. 10 million was chump change to him, but to them, it was a slap in the face. Claire had been gunning for leverage ever since he'd turned her down years ago, and now she had it. He rubbed his temples, the fishing rod propped in the corner mocking him. Walter's voice echoed. "Money's just paper, kid." Yeah, well, paper could still cut deep. Tuesday morning, Ethan hit Golden Oaks early, needing Walter's gruff wisdom before the storm hit. The old man was in the garden, parked under the oak, a paperback western splayed on his lap. He looked up as Ethan approached, straw hat tilted back, eyes sharp despite the lines creasing his face. "You look like hell, boy," Walter said, closing the book. "What's eating you?" Ethan sank onto the bench beside him, elbows on his knees. "Board's coming for me," he said, voice low. "Pulled the plug on a deal. Cost 'em millions. They're talking about kicking me out." Walter whistled, long and low. "That garden of Sophia's?" "Yeah," Ethan said, running a hand through his hair. "Saved it, but now they're pissed. Claire's leading the charge. Says I've lost focus." Walter chuckled, dry as dust. "Focus, huh? Funny thing. I built this company to help folks, not just fatten wallets. Lost sight of that myself once." He paused, eyes distant. "Met a girl back in '63, Rosie. Waitress at a diner in Fresno. Best laugh I ever heard. Wanted to marry her, but I picked the business instead. Regretted it every damn day." Ethan stared at him, the story hitting like a brick. "You never told me that." "Didn't think you'd listen," Walter said, shrugging. "You were too busy chasing what I left you, but this garden thing, Sophia, that's your Rosie moment, kid. Don't let him take it from you." Ethan swallowed, the weight of it sinking in. "What if I lose the company?" "Then you lose it," Walter said, firm. "But you don't lose yourself. That's what counts." Sophia appeared then, pushing a cart of watering cans, Her scrubs swapped for a tank top and shorts. She spotted Ethan and waved, but her smile faded as she got closer. "You okay?" she asked, parking the cart. "You look like you got hit by a truck." "Rough day," he said, forcing a grin. "Board's not thrilled about the garden." Her face tightened. "They're mad you saved it?" "Mad I cost 'em money," he said. "Might cost me more than that." She frowned, sitting beside him, close enough that their shoulders brushed. "You didn't have to do that, you know. Stick your neck out for us." "Yeah, I did," he said, meeting her eyes. "Felt right." Walter smirked, tipping his hat lower. "Told you she's something, didn't I?" Sophia rolled her eyes, but a blush crept up her neck. "Shut it, old man." That night, Ethan was back at Green Roots, helping Sophia fix a leaky hose under a sky streaked with pink. The garden was quiet, just crickets and the drip of water, the heat finally easing. They sat on the bench after, splitting a lukewarm beer she dug out of a cooler. "Thanks," she said, breaking the silence. "For the council thing. Meant a lot." "Don't thank me yet," he said, taking a swig. "Board's got me in their crosshairs. Might not be CEO much longer." Her eyes widened. "Seriously? Over this?" "Over 10 million bucks," he said, half laughing. "They don't mess around." Sophia set her beer down, turning to face him. "Ethan, if you're risking all that for us, maybe—" "No, maybe." He cut in, voice firm. "I'm not backing off. This place, it's worth it." She studied him, something softening in her gaze. "You're not what I thought," she said finally. "Thought you were just another rich jerk playing pretend." "Was," he said, smirking. "Maybe still am. But I'm trying." She laughed, quiet and real, and for a second the world felt lighter. Then her phone buzzed. "Isabel." Sophia sighed, answering. "Ma, I'm fine. Wait, what?" Her face fell and she stood pacing. "No, I'm not. Ma, stop. I'll be home soon." She hung up, rubbing her forehead. "Mom's freaking out. Heard about the council stuff. Thinks you're gonna ruin me." "Ruin you?" Ethan stood frowning. "How?" "She doesn't trust you," Sophia said, voice tight. "Says I'm stupid for letting you in. I told her you're different, but she won't hear it." Ethan's chest tightened. "You think she's right?" "No," she said fast, then softer. "I don't know. This is all a lot." He stepped closer, wanting to fix it but not knowing how. "Sophia, I—" "Don't," she said, stepping back. "I need to think. I'll see you tomorrow." She left, the garden swallowing her shadow, and Ethan stood there, the beer can cold in his hand, Isabel's distrust echoing Walter's warning. He'd fought for Green Roots, but now it felt like he was losing something bigger. Wednesday morning, the boardroom was a war zone. Ethan walked in at 9 sharp, suit crisp, but eyes tired, facing 12 suits around the mahogany table. Claire stood at the head, a stack of papers in front of her, her smile thin and sharp. "Ethan," she said, voice smooth as poison. "Glad you made it. We've got a problem. Your little stunt with Green Roots. 10 million gone, investors spooked. The board's lost confidence." He sat, hands clasped, keeping his cool. "It was the right call. We don't need to screw over communities for profit. Profit's the game." Claire shot back, tossing a report his way. "You've been distracted," skipping meetings, delegating big calls. We're proposing a vote. Step down as CEO. Let the executive committee take over till we find someone new. The room murmured, some avoiding his gaze, others nodding. Ethan's pulse kicked up, but he kept his voice steady. You don't get to oust me over one deal. I'm the majority shareholder. This is my company. Not if we prove negligence, Claire said, leaning in. You've been chasing some ESAC fantasy while we bleed cash. Step aside, Ethan, or we'll drag this to court. He stood towering over the table. Try it. You'll lose. Claire smirked. We'll see. That night, rain hit Sacramento hard, a rare July downpour turning the streets to rivers. Ethan drove to Sophia's place, an old duplex off Folsom Boulevard, paint peeling, porch sagging. He'd gotten the address from Luce, desperation overriding pride. The board's threat was real. He could lose Caldwell Industries, everything Walter built, but losing Sophia? That cut deeper. He knocked, soaked to the bone, thunder rumbling overhead. Sophia opened the door, pajamas and a messy bun, eyes wide. Ethan, it's midnight. What are you doing here? I had to see you, he said, water dripping onto her porch. Board's coming for me. Might take the company. I don't care about that. I care about this, us. She stepped back, letting him in, her small living room cluttered with books and plants. Us? She said, voice shaky. Ethan, my mom, she's done with me over this. Says I'm betraying her, picking you over family. I'm not asking you to pick, he said, closing the distance. I'm asking you to trust me. I could lose it all, company, money, everything, and I'd still be here, Sophia. I don't want to lose you. Her eyes glistened, rain drumming the roof. You don't get it, she whispered. If you lose that, you'll hate me for it someday. No, he said, grabbing her hands, voice breaking. I'd hate myself if I let you go. She stared at him, tears spilling, then pulled away. I can't. I need time, Ethan. This is too much. He nodded, chest tight, and stepped back into the storm. I'll wait, he said, barely audible over the rain. Long as it takes. The door closed, and he stood there, drenched, lightning cracking the sky. The board was closing in, Sophia was slipping away, and for the first time Ethan felt the ground give way beneath him. The rain kept falling, and Ethan drove back to his empty penthouse. The fight for green roots, now a fight for everything he'd come to care about. Ethan's down to his last shot. Can he hold on to Sophia and the company? Hit that subscribe button to find out and drop a comment. Would you risk it all like he did, or is it too late? Let's see this through. The rain didn't stop that night, hammering Sacramento into a blurry gray dawn. Ethan Caldwell barely slept, the echo of Sophia's "I need time" looping in his head like a bad track. His penthouse felt like a tomb, cold marble, silent except for the patter against the floor-to-ceiling windows. He stood there, coffee gone cold in his hand, staring at the city he'd conquered. Yesterday, he'd told Sophia he'd wait. Today, he had to face the board, and maybe lose it all. By 8 a.m., he was at Caldwell Industries, suit sharp but eyes hollow. The boardroom was a pressure cooker. 12 suits lined up like a firing squad. Claire Donovan at the head with a smirk that could cut glass. Papers were stacked high, legal briefs, financials, a no-confidence motion with his name in bold. Ethan sat, hands clasped, feeling the weight of every choice he'd made since that first day at Green Roots. Claire didn't waste time. "Ethan, you've had your fun?" she said, voice smooth and lethal. 10 million lost on a whim, investors pulling out, stock dipping. We're done playing. Step down or we'll force you out. Court, shareholders, whatever it takes." He leaned forward, keeping his cool. "You don't have the votes. I'm the majority shareholder. Walter's legacy, not yours." "Not if we prove you're unfit," Claire shot back, sliding a folder across the table. "Negligence, erratic decisions. Green Roots was just the start. We've got a case, and the board's behind me." Murmurs rippled through the room, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. Ethan's pulse kicked up, but before he could fire back, the door creaked open. Every head turned as Walter Caldwell rolled in, wheelchair creaking, straw hat perched crooked on his gray head. Linda from Golden Oaks trailed behind, looking nervous but determined. "Grandpa," Ethan said, standing, shock rooting him. "Sit down, boy," Walter rasped, waving a hand. "I'm here to settle this." Claire's smirk faltered. "Mr. Caldwell, with respect, this is a board matter." "Respect my ass," Walter snapped, wheeling to the table's edge. "I built this damn company, and I've still got a say. You want to talk votes? I've held 10% of the shares since '68, silent till now. Proxy's mine, and I'm giving it to Ethan." The room went dead silent, Claire's face draining of color. Ethan blinked, mind racing. "You've got shares?" he asked, voice low. "Why didn't you—" "Didn't need to," Walter cut in, eyes fierce. "Kept 'em for insurance. Made sure this place never forgot why I started it. Wasn't about condos or stock ticks. It was about people. Folks like Sophia's crew at Green Roots." Claire recovered, leaning forward. "That's sweet, Walter, but it doesn't change the losses. Ethan's reckless." "Reckless?" Walter barked, slamming a fist on the table. "He's the only one here with guts to do what's right. You want to sue him? Sue me too. I'll testify he's the best damn leader this company's had since I stepped down." Ethan stared, Walter's words sinking in. 10%. Enough to tip the scales, keep him in control. He stood, voice steady. "This isn't just about Green Roots. It's about what we stand for. I'm shifting us. Sustainability, community projects, real impact. Profit's still there, but it's not the only game." Claire laughed, brittle. "You'll tank us with that hippie crap." "Numbers don't lie," Ethan said, tossing a report he'd prepped onto the table. "ESG companies, environmental, social, governance, outperform long-term. We save Green Roots. We build trust. That's worth more than 10 million. The board shifted, some flipping through the pages, others whispering. Claire's allies, 2 old-timers in pinstripes, stood firm, but the rest wavered. Walter grinned, leaning back. "Vote it then. Let's see who's got the stones." The tally dragged. 5 for Claire's motion, then 6 against as Walter's shares swung it. Claire's face twisted, but she stayed silent as the last vote landed. Ethan stayed. "This isn't over," she hissed, storming out. heels clicking like gunfire. Walter squeezed Ethan's shoulder as the room emptied. "Your grandma'd be proud," he said, voice thick. "So am I." Ethan nodded, throat tight. "Thanks, Grandpa. I owe you." "Nah," Walter said, wheeling toward the door. "You owe yourself. Go get that girl." That afternoon, Ethan drove to Green Roots. No suit, just jeans and a t-shirt, the Tesla humming soft. The garden was alive, prepping for a summer festival. Tables up, kids stringing lights, loose frying churros on a portable stove. Sophia was in the thick of it, directing traffic with a clipboard, her curls wild under a bandana. She froze when she saw him, clipboard dropping to her side. "You're here," she said, stepping over, voice cautious. "Thought you'd be fighting the suits all day." "Fought 'em and won," he said, grinning. Walter pulled a wild card, old shares he'd stashed. "Kept me in the game." Her eyes widened. "Seriously? That old fox?" "Yeah," he said, then sobered. "Sophia, about last night." "Don't," she cut in, holding up a hand. "I freaked out, okay? Mom's still mad, but I don't want to lose this either. You." Ethan's chest loosened, relief flooding him. "Good, 'cause I'm not going anywhere." She smiled, small but real, then hesitated. "Ma's coming around. Slowly. She saw you at the council thing on the news, said maybe you're not all bad." "High praise," he said, laughing. "I'll take it." A week later, the Green Roots Summer Festival was in full swing, the lot transformed under a golden dusk. Strings of bulbs glowed overhead. Tables groaned with food, tamales, grilled corn, Sophia's mom's famous pozole. Kids ran wild, chasing each other through a sprinkler Ethan had rigged up, their shrieks mixing with a mariachi band jamming in the corner. Walter rolled in, parked by the tomato beds, holding court with a crowd of old-timers, his laugh booming. Ethan stood by the new irrigation system, installed that morning, a gift he'd funded himself, not the company. He'd bought the empty lot next door, too, a quiet move with his own cash, dreaming of greenhouses and a kid's learning space. Sophia approached, 2 lemonades in hand, her sundress catching the light. "Walter's in his element," she said, handing him a glass. "Told me he grew prize tomatoes back in the day." "He's full of it," Ethan said, grinning. "But don't tell him I said that." She laughed, sipping her drink, then nodded at the sprinkler. "Nice touch. Kids love it." "Figured they deserved a cool-off," he said, watching Manny douse Jamal. "Sophia, I've been thinking about that lot next door." She raised an eyebrow. "Yeah?" "Bought it," he said, casual as he could. "For the garden, greenhouses, a kitchen, whatever you want." Her jaw dropped, lemonade sloshing. "Ethan, what? When?" "Last week," he said, stepping closer. "It's yours. Ours, if you'll have it." Tears welled in her eyes, and she set the glass down, hands trembling. "You're crazy," she whispered, laughing through it. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll help me build it," he said, taking her hands. "And say you'll stick with me, for real." She froze, eyes searching his. "Stick with you?" He pulled a small box from his pocket, a simple ring, no flash, just a clean diamond that caught the fading sun. Sofia Rivera, you've shown me what matters, more than money, more than any damn company. Marry me? Her breath hitched, tears spilling as the garden blurred around them. Ethan! The crowd noticed, heads turning, a hush falling. Manny yelled, "Yo, Mr. E's proposing!" And cheers erupted. Luce clapping, Jamal whistling, Walter cackling from his chair. "Yes," Sofia said, voice breaking, nodding fast. "Yes, I will." Ethan slipped the ring on her finger, pulling her into his arms as the garden exploded, kids shouting, music kicking back up, Isabel watching from the food table with a grudging nod. Walter wheeled over, grinning ear to ear. "Told you she'd say yes," he said, smug. "Just like Rosie would have, if I'd had the guts." Ethan laughed, holding Sofia tight. "Guess I learned from you, old man." Later, as the festival wound down, Ethan and Sofia sat under the garden's oldest tree, stars peeking through the leaves. The air smelled of sugar and soil, the night warm and still. Walter had gone home. Luce was packing up, and the kids were sprawled on blankets, wiped out. "What made you do it?" Sofia asked, leaning against him. "The lot, the ring, all of it?" Ethan thought, watching a kid clutch a soaked shirt, grinning in his sleep. "Wanted something that lasts," he said. "Not a company, not a bank account, something real. You showed me that." She cupped his face, kissing him soft and slow, the ring glinting on her hand. "You're wiser than you look, Caldwell." "High praise," he teased, kissing her back. He stood, pulling her up, and grabbed the fishing rod from his car, Walter's old gift. Manny wandered over curious. "What's that for?" "For you," Ethan said, handing it over. "Keep it, kid. Richest guy's the one with people to share it with." Manny grinned, running off to show Jamal, and Ethan wrapped an arm around Sofia, the garden alive around them. He'd started this summer a king in a tower. Now he was just a guy, rich in ways he'd never dreamed. The stars shone bright over green roots, and Ethan finally understood. Real wealth wasn't what you owned. It was what you gave. Ethan's found his legacy. What'd you think of his journey? Hit that subscribe button for more stories like this, and drop a comment. What's your takeaway from Ethan and Sofia's ride? See you in the next one.